All right, welcome back to another Exploded figure review. This time we're going to do our first Cosmic Legion, and it is Orvar from Oxkrewe 1. This is from the Cosmic Legions wave, like I said. I'm really excited to get into this guy. He is super cool looking. I want to compare him to like the other Tusk, as well as compare him to some dwarves, because people have kind of compared him to like the version of a dwarf in Cosmic. He's big, but he's smaller proportions. It's kind of hard to explain, but we'll take a look at it as we get into it. Here's the box here. You got a little kind of picture of the figure here in the bottom corner. Able to display both heads here on the side. Got some stuff about the wave itself, Oxkrewe Book 1, Thraxon. On the back, you've got the cross-cell art with all the different figures that have come out for the wave so far. And then here on the side, you've got his little bio. So pretty cool. Let's get this open and take a look at what the inside looks like.
You best get ready, because now it's time for Art by Akerman.
All right, so normally in the past, we would have just done pictures of the inside, but I wanted to show it off. So first off, you do have this nice background. They've been including something like this in all of the Cosmic waves, and I think it's cool if you don't have dial pieces for photography set up and you just want to kind of display these and have it kind of look nice with a space background. These things work out really well. So this one's got kind of an alien planet down here and some sort of structure that they're working in, some little habitat. This wave also came with that accessory kit, so I think that would look nice kind of placed around this as well. So pretty cool interior artwork. Then on the clamshell, you've got the figure itself. You've got his bubble and the contraption that holds the bubble, his weapon, little backpack, and then on the side you've got the extra head, some hands, some tools, and I'm not sure what all these contraptions are. I'll have to take a look, but it looks like maybe some like a communicator, some grenades, maybe some landmines. I don't know. It's crazy stuff. So if you need a picture of kind of what this looks like to put it back in order, here's this side. There's that side. All right, so let me get this thing out of the package. We'll kind of get our initial thoughts of the figure, and then we'll explode it and go from there. All right, folks, so here is Orvar in hand, and I'm kind of holding this backpack in because it's wanting to fall out. There's like a little attachment piece that goes into it, and it doesn't want to stay in. So could glue it in there, but then it would be permanent. I'm thinking what I may do is just put a little bit of 3M tape in there. I've got a little small thing, so I'll show that in the video, but I'll take that out for now because it's a little finicky. So here's the actual figure. This is with the dome on it. It's a really nice fit. It fits a lot better than the Tusk ones. It's kind of a pressure fit on there, but it pops on there pretty good where it's not really coming off. And then if you pull that off, you can attach this instead, and you get kind of like these, I don't know if it's like breathing tubes or what, going up the side. So really cool figure. I love the proportions on it. As far as the articulation, you kind of got normal articulation. It's a little limited by, the chunkiness of the armor, but otherwise it feels good. Like it feels like it moves well. And I don't know how to explain it, but this just kind of like gives me Mega Man vibes, like the proportions of him. Just a little kind of small, chunky guy. Not that Mega Man is chunky, but I don't know. That's just the vibes I get off of this guy. So, but we'll get into the exploded review and look at the accessories and stuff. One other thing that I noticed right off the bat, he's got really thick fingers on his hand, and they're super stiff. So you're not going to be able to really get any kind of weapons or anything in here unless you heat these up. So just be careful. You don't want to, do anything crazy on that. So just heat those up if you're going to use those. Yeah, let's go ahead and explode this thing and take a look and see what we got. All right, here we are back for the exploded view of this Orvar from Oxkrewe Wave 1. A lot of cool stuff that we need to get into here. We'll do some comparisons as well. So as always, we're going to start with the head. Taking a look at this first one. This is the one that comes on the figure itself. Just a really cool design. You've got all these like external veins and stuff on there. a real nice transition of color with the light green to the dark green. Yeah, just a really cool alien head. It's kind of shaped in the back as if like it like goes over his brain. It's kind of got this indentation here. So really interesting design. As far as like color on here, I wanted to compare this to a couple other heads. So this is Scaphoid. And I think Scaphoid, like if you go down towards the bottom, pretty close to maybe the chin, but up towards the top, you can see quite a bit different. Lot darker up here at the top, but I think there's maybe some similar colors. Maybe the wash is the same, but the Scaphoid has a little bit lighter, especially on the top. Top is quite yellow. And then going into this other one, which is Slog, I think these might be spot on. I feel like these colors, especially like the top half of Orvar's head, I believe that's the same colors. You can see even on Slog's head here, you've got some of that kind of veining pattern as well. And then he's got these like poofy pouches on the side, which you'll see on the other Orvar head in a second. His cheeks kind of poof out. So, you know, are these a similar race or some sort of, you know, distant relatives or something? I'm not sure what's going on there, but definitely a similar color scheme and kind of pattern on the head itself. So going into the other head, this is the one that's kind of got the gritted teeth, more of an angry look, and then you see these pouches pop out on the side. And you know, going back to here, you see, you know, this pouch here, that pouch there. Not exactly the same, but kind of interesting that it's, you know, both of them have these kind of pouches on the side. Both of them have the veins on the top of their head. So kind of just an interesting thing to call out there. Other than that, the two heads are very similar besides the gritted teeth, and the, you know, kind of those this expanded pouches there. But the rest of the head is pretty much the exact same. Maybe a little bit lighter on the, like if you turn it like this, you can kind of see like the underside of the upper eye ridge is a little lighter on this one than that one. But that could just be that, you know, slight paint difference in the two, you know, just based on who was painting it or something. But yeah, pretty cool, both heads. I really like this gritted teeth one. I think it's cool. I love that like, it just gives them the angry look with these things kind of jetting out at the side, and then they've got the red in there as well. Next, you've got the neck, and he's kind of got this big fat neck here with this barbell. Barbell pops in the one side. There we go. So it pops in on one side, then the head pops onto the other. So you can see the head goes way up in there. It is the same size as a normal like ball peg for this. So you can see like the Scaphoid head pops on there, but it would look quite weird with this neck, but it does fit. So just something to note, that does fit on there, but yeah, that would be kind of a weird look coming off of this. We'll maybe try that later once we get this all together, but otherwise this is just kind of a new big neck piece here. Really nice pop there. But yeah, that's what's going on with that. We've got the torso here, the upper part of it, and this has quite a bit going on. So first off, you had these little kind of attachments. I don't know if they're supposed to be lights or you know, cameras or action. I'm not sure what's going on with these, but they just slide right in there. So there's like just a little kind of slit there that just goes into, and that holds it steady. And then there's a smaller ones that go in this spot here. So pretty much the exact same format, but you've got a bigger slot up here, smaller slot down there. If you try to put these small ones in here, it's really loose. It doesn't hold it. So, so that's what this piece looks like. It does have kind of your standard chest plug piece here that you could plug something into. Okay, so here is the torso, and this is just a chest plug from Waltor the Mad. So I can just slide that. There's a little notch at the top. I can just slide that right in there. and then he would have that kind of look on there. He doesn't have a piece like that in here, but if you wanted to put that on there, you could. Okay, looking at the rest of the details on here, so around that middle section, you've kind of got this, I don't know, like pattern, like fanned pattern in there. You've also got some kind of cushion around the ridge, around the neckline. Going to the back, you've got this open spot that does have kind of this square thing that would go in here, and then the back piece attaches to that like that. Now, one thing that people have noticed on this pops out really easily. So, you know, I've seen some people, including door clayers, suggest that maybe these should have been glued in, or maybe they were supposed to be glued in, but just didn't for some reason. But after hearing Chris on a couple shows, I think that this was intentional, that this was not glued in, because I think there's going to be some other adapters that go in here later. But maybe they thought it was going to have a better fit. You can see, if you look to the sides here, there's a couple like tiny ridges that I think they thought was going to friction fit in there a little bit better than what it does. So, but what you can do is just throw a little bit. You could either use some hot glue because that would peel off if you wanted to, or you could use a couple other options like some 3M tape, which is probably what I'm going to do. I'll show that when I put it back together. That way you can, you know, have it hold a little bit better, but it's not a permanent fix. If you didn't care and you're never going to pop this off, then you could just, you know, super glue it, put some super glue in there, pop that in, and then it would stay in there. So that's this piece. So then going in here is this like ring piece, this new ring piece that will just pop in there. And I might have to heat that up, but it kind of goes in that little ridge there. So this rotates all the way around and still allows you to plug the arm in there. And then here is this like shoulder kind of pauldron thing. And I don't know if I'll be able to get that on without heating it up, but that basically goes on here and kind of has a little bit of bend this way. And then also it rotates all the way around. So if you wanted to have the arm like going up in the air, you can rotate this back and then the arm will go up and forward. Otherwise you can kind of have it this way and it creates that look in the front. So you got, you know, kind of this way around, and then there's a little bit of swivel here once you have that attached. So that's that piece. This also has a port on the side, and it doesn't come with anything to really attach here other than this hose. So there is a hose that you could plug in here, but it is kind of a standard slot on here that you could plug other things that you've had from other Cosmic Legions into that. So if you had like the little guns or anything, you could do that. Okay, so here's just kind of one of the, like, I think this is from the Sentry, one of these little mini guns, and you could just pop that in there. So if you wanted to have, you know, like some guns on the shoulder, you could do that and have that like this. There's other attachments that could go in here as well, but just wanted to show you that's how that port works. So then moving down, well, actually, before we go into the arms, let's show you the other things that go on here. So there is this little plug piece that goes here, and I'm not sure kind of what this is, if it's supposed to be like a breathing apparatus, if it's supposed to be like a microphone for them to communicate when they've got their suits on and stuff. But this piece goes in here, and then it comes with an alternate one here. And really the only difference is one is a little bit longer than the other. So let me show those real quick. Let me get this back out. So here is the one that comes in it. And then this is the one that comes extra in the package. So you can see it's just, the one in the package is just a little bit taller. So once again, I don't know what this piece is supposed to be. But if you wanted a little bit taller one, you've got that in the package here that you can do. So then you've got a couple kind of overlay options. So you have this one first, and this one actually will plug into this port here. It doesn't have I guess it has a little tiny key at the top. It's not as prominent as like the ones like this one on the back of the Waltor plug, but there's a little something there. But this would plug in this way. and then it kind of has these tubes that come up the side to create an interesting look there. Or you can unplug this and you can put this overlay on it here, which goes like that. And it really just kind of pressure fits on there. There's nothing that like snaps in place or anything, but it does kind of pressure fit on there. And then you've got the dome that you can pop in there, like so, like that. And that really does create a little bit of a snap there, and has, you know, fits a lot better than like the Tusk ones that we've seen so far. So, so that's the other option for the overlay, is that kind of dome cover. So you've got, I'm guessing I'm going to call this like the breathing apparatus, or the dome, space, you know, space hood dome thing. Going down from this, just to complete the torso part, is this extra little piece. That pops in here and kind of takes it from this really big, bulky, like upper torso to kind of down to a normal size, you know, pelvis to go into the lower body. So that brings it, this is kind of the piece that takes it from kind of big and crazy down to what we know normally as far as size-wise. And this has some details on there with, you know, some of the different paints on there and some textures and stuff. But so that's that mid piece. All right, now going into the arms. So this is the upper arm here. It's kind of a chunky boy. Very similar design as what we've seen on the Tusk armor. As far as the inside piece here, this like tubing look. The outside piece is much more bulky than what we've seen in the past, and it has like this spot for an emblem on here. I thought that this might pull off, but it does not. It's not a separate piece. But just comparing this to a Tusk arm. So like this is a Tusk upper arm. So you can see similar kind of tubing design on the inside here. But then when you get to the you know, beefy part of the arm, this one is very smooth and chunky, whereas this one is a lot more slender. And then when you turn it to the side, you can also see that the Oxkrewe one is definitely a lot bigger. So that's kind of the difference there. You can also see a difference in color here between like the Waltor cosmic figure versus the Orvar. Quite, you know, both are orange, but quite a bit different orange. So. Then you go down into the elbow piece, which is really just kind of a standard elbow piece, no different than what we've had before. It's the exact same one that's on this Tusk one, so not really anything different there. That then goes into the lower arm, which is quite a bit different than what we've had. You can see the lower arm here, like this one dwarfs that, right? Which is no pun intended, because a lot of people are considering this a space dwarf. But like, look at the length on this compared to that one. You know, quite a bit of a difference, and yet the ports, I believe, are still the same. Yeah, so this is that little mini gun here on that one, and that same gun will fit on the Tusk. So same ports, but a much, much larger, longer arm here on Orvar. So, and then that goes into the hand. I should make note on this piece. You've got like some screws and bolts and stuff on the side, some, you know, a lot of different color and shapes and textures on here too. So there's a lot to this. Going into the hand, you've got a really chunky, beefy hand. Look at the size difference there between the Oxkrewe and the Tusk. Similar kind of design where it's got like that bolt here. You've got kind of this metal overlay over top, similar kind of there. You know, only 3 fingers and a thumb on this hand versus the 4 fingers and a thumb here, but very similar design. You even have like these 2 fingers have some extra armor on the front, and then you see on these 2 fingers a little extra armor on the front, and then not on the pinky. So very similar design, but just really beefed up and chunky on that Oxkrewe. So. All right. Obviously, the other side is very similar, but we do have a different design on the shoulder. So this is different than that one. Once again, these do not pop off. I don't know if it's some sort of decal or something. I tried to kind of scratch at it to see, you know, there's nothing sticking up off of it. So I'm not sure how they did that. But it's not something that pops off, and it's not something that I see that's like a sticker or anything. So I don't know how they did it. It's magic, but it's cool. So those are the two different shoulder armor looks there. Then going into the lower body, first you have this belt piece, which is really cool. It is, if I compare that to the Tusk one, so here's the Tusk one. So you looking at it, you can see that it's actually a little bit smaller than the Tusk one, but it has all these little connections around it for you to plug stuff into. It's kind of like the reverse peg system, right? Because we've got all the holes, like the ports and like these arms and stuff. But this is like a peg that something else can pop onto it. So quite a bit of a size difference there. We'll get into some of the accessories now because it makes sense for this. So you have a bunch of stuff that I'm not sure exactly what all it is. It does talk about him being an explosives expert. So I'm kind of thinking that these are like charges or maybe even like landmines or something. And they just kind of pop onto that belt there. And then he also has these like canisters, look like a smoke grenade or a stun grenade, or maybe just a grenade. And they also will pop on there. So you can kind of, depending on how you want to do it, you can pop these things around there and kind of create this look where he's got a whole bunch of stuff hanging from his belt. Once you do that, I'm just going to put a couple more things on here real quick, just so that we can compare that back to the Oxkrewe one again. So once you have some stuff on there, then you go to compare it to the Oxkrewe one again, and now it looks pretty much the same, right? Because you've added that extra bulkiness to it. So similar look once you have the stuff on there, but without it, you know, quite a bit different. You have 5 of these charges or landmines or whatever they are, some sort of explosive. And then for these canisters, you have 2 of these smaller canisters. They're basically the same. Not basically, they are the same. And then you have 1 of these larger ones. So once again, I'm not sure what these do. I don't know if one of these is a stun grenade and one's a smoke, or one's a regular, or, you know, one's a bigger boom. Not sure, but that's what you have with those. So those attach to this belt. The belt then goes over the normal pelvis that we've had. This peg could come out. It's kind of a chore to deal with, so I didn't bother taking it out, but it can come out if you want it to. So this goes over top here. You then have a couple plates for this. You've got a crotch plate for the front, which is slightly different from the one that we've got on the Tusk. You can see the Tusk one has like a groove down here in the middle. This one does not. Similar, but different, okay? And then you also have a butt plate that goes in the back. Comparing that to the Tusk one, it looks like that might be the same. I believe it's just a different paint job. So I think we got the same butt plate, but we've got a little bit different crotch plate. Going into the legs, you've got first off your normal kind of hip joint, you know, from the leg going into the pelvis. So not really much different there. Do have a kind of two-tone paint color scheme. Sometimes these hip joints, because they're not seen very much, they just go with one solid color, but they did go with a two-tone there. That goes into this upper leg, which is, you know, starts to kind of go chunky again. So we had the big upper torso, went down to kind of the smaller waist, and now we're going back out to kind of the thicker thighs, right? So it's going a little bit bigger, but you also see that it's shrunk down, it's small. Like from where the plug goes in to the end, you're only talking this big, compared to like a normal thigh here. you know, because like normally the hip joint plugs in around up here, whereas on here, the hip joint plugs in down there. So like you've got a shorter leg. I don't know if you can see that there, but like where my fingers are, like this is where the hip joint plugs in here, and this is where the hip joint plugs in there. So from the hip joint down to where the knees are, which I've got the knees pretty much lined up, you can see there's a difference. So the regular Tusk Armor, the upper leg is probably from where the hip joint plugs in, probably half an inch, you know, longer than what the Orvar's is. Then that goes into the lower leg. I should show the kind of the details on here. So you do have like a little bolt here, got a big giant one here on the side, a little yellow detail here. Put some blue tack on the back just so that this would sit forward. But you got some details there. And if I take this off, you can see there's some details under there as well. So put that back. That goes into the lower leg. And this is also, this is just chunky. So take a look at this compared to the Tusk one. You can see it's a little bit shorter in terms of where it connects. Okay, so from where it connects to the bottom, you can see that the Orvar one is a little bit shorter, right? But it is significantly wider. Like it is just chunky as all get out. So yeah, quite a bit different there. Then for the details, you've got like this big silver kind of, you know, attachment here. Same thing on the other side. You've got one with the flathead screw kind of on that side and on this side. Same thing there, same thing here. You got some tubing. So there's quite a bit of detail that goes into this. But the plug that goes into here from the upper leg is really kind of a standard knee to lower leg plug. So not much different when it comes to that side of this. The other side, however, this bottom side is really big. So this is where the ankle would plug into the foot. So taking a look at the ankle, you've got this chunky monstrosity that plugs in here, and then that goes into the foot. Comparing that to a Tusk one, so here's the difference in the ankles. So you can see just the massive size of Orvar's ankle itself, plus the plug that goes into the lower leg versus the standard one. Now, when it comes out to the end, this comes out to a much smaller point, but I still think that that's bigger than a foot. Let me try to grab one real quick and we'll take a look. Okay, so going back to the ankle, just comparing the ends of those, it looks, as far as like the biggest part of the Tusk one, looks about the same as the end of this one, but this one is more cylindrical the whole way, whereas this one has kind of a nubbin at the end. Okay, so I just heated that foot up, so we'll see. So I'm able to get the ankle in there, but it looks pretty ridiculous. So that's what that looks like there. So if I were to plug that into the lower leg, that's kind of the look that you would get there. So it will work, but it looks kind of silly. It even kind of pushes out the side here of this foot just to allow that ankle in. So, so yeah, quite a bit bigger ankle joint going into the foot. So then looking at the foot itself, like, I mean, look at that. This is the bottom of the foot of the Tusk versus this Oxkrewe one. Once again, kind of similar to what we've talked about on the rest of this. We've got a similar design, but just on steroids. Like this thing is just like massive. So, you know, just quite a bit difference in size. On the side here, you see like, even here you've got like that flat head on the side of the foot. Here you've got the flat head on the side of the foot. You've got, you know, this one's got more tread and stuff on there, but like if you go to the bottom, you've got, you know, kind of this port thing in the front, port thing in the back. you know, so similar kind of design. You even got like this ridge going down the back of the foot, so just similar, but not quite the same, and then really beefed up. So yeah, that's just a massive difference in size. So, and we tried the other way as far as putting Orvar's ankle in the other one. We'll try putting in a regular ankle into Orvar's. You can see it does snap in, and you know, but it just looks ridiculous. So let me throw that into a leg. So that's what that would look like. So yeah, if you wanted to put just a massive foot on a tusk, you could do it, but it's gonna look really silly. But it does fit in there. You know, I mean, it's not gonna take much, I don't think, to pull that out, because the hole is just a slight bit bigger, I think, than the regular foot. But yeah, so that's what we got going on there. Then over here, we got a weapon for him, which is this big giant hammer. I think this thing is super cool looking. It's just very, I don't know, it's futuristic, but at the same time, like, I don't know, just like the smooth nature of this and the squaring off of it, it just, I don't know, it's just really cool. I'm not sure how to describe it, but it's cool looking. And then it's got this handle for it. So that's kind of what that looks like there, his big hammer. Take that back apart. We kind of already looked at the back port. So this plugs into here, and then that plugs into the back. You do have some ports on here that you can run that tubing off of. You've got another port on the very back, and then you've got the kind of slit on the bottom, which could be used for like the heavy gunner or Vorga, where they've got like that kind of belt clip, or the like the ammo clip that comes off of there. So you could plug that into that port as well if you wanted to. So that's what that new kind of back adapter looks like. We already looked at the overlay for the dome. We looked at the tubing. We did not look at the extra hands. So you've got an extra set of gripping hands on here. They do have a horizontal hinge. So side to side. Once again, big, huge, massive hands. The ones that come on it are more of these like trigger hands, really. So you got the index finger is a little bit further out than the regular fingers. And with these hands, these fingers are really thick. Like if you compare this to the normal tusk hand, like it is just super thick. So you are not going to get these things to budge if you need to like get a weapon or something in here, unless you heat this up. You definitely need to heat this guy. Like this is not going anywhere. So just as a heads up on that. And then he does have this here, which I believe is supposed to be some sort of tool, like a drill or something. But it also could be like a laser gun, but I believe it's supposed to be like a drill that he is using there. So that's kind of a little cool little thing. So that is everything for this figure. What I want to do now is get him back together, do a comparison once he's all together versus a tusk, also versus a dwarf, just to kind of see what those look like. But right now, it's time for fast motion. Okay, so we've got Orvar back together, and we're gonna, I figured I would show this part in regular time because we're gonna do that fix for the back so that it doesn't just pop out so easily. So let's go ahead and get him on his stomach. So we're gonna first just kind of pop this into here, and then this goes into there. So what we want to do is have something in here that's going to help hold that in place. So I am going to use this 3M tape. It's a double-sided tape. It's really thin, and it holds super strong. So let me just take a piece of this off and cut it. And I'll just throw this on the back here of this. Looks like I got a little bit more, and it's gonna go over the edge, which is fine. So just kind of getting it all over that back there. And then the tricky part is kind of getting it to peel. So you just kind of got to find the edge and get it to peel up. Once you do, see, I thought I had the edge there, and then it kind of, I got the tape itself. There we go. So once you got the edge off of it, so now that's got the double-sided tape on there. And this, like I said, this stuff holds really strong. So I'm just gonna line that up and push it in. And then now that should hold pretty well. Like that's, even if I kind of, I can even hold it by it and it's not pulling out. So yeah, that's pretty good. And then if you wanted to, like right now I've got the hose running to his shoulder, but I could move that and have it come from the back, going to that drill. So here's what we got going on here. Now I will say I do have a little bit of weak wrist syndrome with that hammer. So I'll probably have to tighten that up. Even the kind of lower arm has got a little bit of a looseness to it. So probably gonna have to do some adjustment on that. Other than that though, and then the belt kind of does just kind of rotate a little bit. It doesn't really hold in place super well, but I mean, that's not a big deal. It you know, you may even want that. As far as the rest of it goes though, I mean, it's just really cool looking, really articulated. Yeah, it looks pretty awesome. So doing a size comparison of this with a dwarf. So this is him next to a Legion Builder dwarf. You can see he is quite a bit taller, but he has those dwarf-like proportions. So, you know, that's kind of where I think people get that comparison. And then I'll grab this tusk that I've been working with and put it back together. All right, so this is that Cosmic Walter next to him in comparison. So, you know, he is shorter than a standard figure, but he is taller than a dwarf. So he's kind of an in-between size there, but he does have more stocky-like proportions to him. So, and then we'll pop this off real quick and pop his head off, because we said we would try that with a standard head. So, all right, let me grab that scaphoid head. This is gonna be ridiculous. But yeah, that's what that would look like. So, you know, will it fit? Yes, but it's gonna look silly. So that's what we've got there. You know, and a normal neck won't work. Like, you can't just plug this out and put it in a regular neck, because it's gonna be quite a bit too big. Now, obviously you can modify anything and customize it and make it work. But this hole is meant for this big chunky neck. So there you go. Let's pop this back off. Let's put on this head. So that's what that looks like with that head on it. Once again, you know, not really what I would do, but it does fit. It just looks silly. And then if we were to put in this thing, that's what that would look like. So that's what we got. I am going to work on the I'd like to kind of tighten up the legs a little bit, like in the hip. Same thing with this one. It's okay side to side, but front to back, I think I could use a little tightening there. Definitely gonna tighten up this wrist and tighten up this arm here. Now, a lot of this, just so you guys are aware, like I took this all apart. So when you take it all apart completely, you know, there may be like some paint on the joints or something like that that gets rubbed off when you're taking it apart and putting it back together. So that's why sometimes when I put these back together, they're a little bit looser. I did not have these problems when I first pulled this figure out of the box. So just something to be aware of too is, you know, if you're taking apart these figures and doing this exploded stuff like I am, you know, you may have to deal with some looseness of joints. And, you know, but we've got a video out there on how to tighten up joints. So I will try one of those methods, and then I will be back for closing thoughts on this guy. All right, that'll do it for Orvar of Oxkrewe Wave 1 of Cosmic Legions. I had a lot of high expectations for this guy, and the Horsemen have totally delivered on that. I just really love the overall look once you get him back together. That head sculpt, the big chunkiness of the suit, the fact that he's, you know, shrunk down in certain parts and elongated in other parts. The proportions of this guy is just really awesome. You know, it does give it that kind of almost an exosuit vibe, or just giant spacesuit. And it's just really cool. I love the you know, the overall look that you achieve with it. So, you know, a few modifications on this because after I took it apart and put it back together, there was some looseness. I didn't have that initially out of the box, just FYI. But did use some Kikis. This is my bottle that I've had for like the last 3 years. So it'll last you a long time. You can't even read the label anymore, but you can get this on eBay. I know there's like a bargain version of it on Amazon. There's also like people will talk about, you can make your own, you just mix blah, 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 with blah, blah, blah. Listen, I ain't no chemist. I ain't trying to do that. $15 or something like that. You buy it online and this will last you like a super long time. I mean, I use it a lot and this has lasted me like 3 years. So just get a bottle of Kikis and call it done. But anyways, put that in the elbow going into the lower arm on both sides, in this wrist, and then also on the legs. And then I did on the charges and like grenades or canisters or whatever on his belt. I just put a little drop of Kikis in that too when I put it on, because it'll, you know, not only does it tighten joints, but it almost acts like a little bit of a, like almost like an Elmer's glue. So it's not anything permanent or anything, but it did help to kind of keep those on there because I noticed as I was moving him around, articulating him, they were kind of popping off, which was annoying. So they seem to be staying now, which is good. So, but you could see now, like, you know, turn his hammer, it's not spinning like it was before. Same thing with the lower arm, like, you know, it's nice and tight. So that Kiki's fixed it right up. One thing that I did not adjust on here that normally I probably would on a figure is at the waist where the ball joint goes into that new lower section. It moves really freely. And I kind of like that. It's almost like he has ball bearings in there. Like it's just a really smooth moving joint. So on a like maybe a Mythic Legion figure or something, I probably would just try to tighten that up a bit, but on this figure I kind of like it. So, and then obviously on that backpack we showed, we used some of that 3M tape to hold in that square piece that holds that back adapter on it. So, but yeah, this is the overall, you know, kind of look of him, and I think he looks fantastic. They could not have done anything better on this figure for me. But you can also take this dome off and put that, like, you know, whatever breathing apparatus or something on there. But yeah, not much more I can say. This is an awesome figure. So go ahead and pick it up if you haven't already. I'm hoping that when people start seeing these at shows that it's the thing that kind of wakes them up to Cosmic Legions. I feel like people have been kind of sleeping on this line a little bit. And I think this might be the thing that kind of, you know, is catches their eye at a show. And I'm really excited for it because I think this is a cool line, and I hope that, people start buying it in enough numbers that they want to produce a wave each year, or a couple waves each year. So anyhow, that was my Exploded review. Hope that you enjoyed it. It's actually my first on a Cosmic, as far as I know. But all of my other Exploded reviews are on this channel. There's a playlist for them. You just search for playlist, and under the Exploded reviews, I've got them all listed there. Also, if you're in the Mythic Legions Cabal, I've got an album there where I post the Exploded views for all of my Mythic figures. I will be creating an album in the Cosmic Cabal for Orvar and any of the other Cosmics that I do reviews of. So you can find just that screenshot of the Exploded view in those sections, or you can come here for the reviews. So that is it for today. Hope you enjoyed this. Can't wait to see what you create with this guy. And until next time, keep creating, folks.